Not too long ago, I went on a trip, a mushroom psychedelic trip to be precise. While I was tripping, and I have no idea why they call it tripping, but anyway, while I was tripping, I was learning a lesson about distractions. And I was with somebody else at the time, and I was just receiving all this information about how distractions take us away from the things that we're trying to achieve. So whether it's that you distract yourself or there are outside external distractions, whether that be friends, family, social media, whatever it is that you have going on. So this is what I was basically learning about in the trip. If you've ever done like mushrooms or psychedelics before, it's a weird experience because sometimes you'll experience something in real time to solidify the lesson. So basically in that moment, while I'm receiving all this information about distractions and how not to get distracted in life and how dangerous they are, the person that I'm tripping with says something to me like, oh, you're right, like, how you doing, basically. We start talking, and throughout this time of me learning about distractions, I'm purposely not coming out of the moment. I'm just sitting with the lesson that I'm receiving. So the person says to me, oh yeah, how are you? You're right. Like, what's going on for you? I just say, yeah, I'm just learning a beautiful lesson about distractions. I say to them, like, are you all right? Like, what's going on for you? He says to me, he felt like he was trying to go on a journey somewhere, but he couldn't let go. Like, he couldn't release control to go wherever the mushrooms were trying to take him. And I understand how crazy that might sound if you've never done psychedelics before. But if you have, then you'd kind of understand what I mean. In that moment, then I was thinking, instead of you focusing, and this is not coming from a place of judgment or anything, this was just almost like an exhibit A to the lesson that I was learning. Like, look, here's somebody doing exactly what I'm trying to teach you distractions do. So instead of him focusing on where he was trying to go or releasing control or trying to better understand himself of why he couldn't let go to go where the mushrooms were trying to take him on this journey, he distracted himself by talking to me. And it just made me think about how often we do little things like that. Even if we're working on something and then we decide to pop on social media or go on YouTube or wherever it might be, even if it's playing music in the background or always having noise around you, at a certain point you have to really ask yourself, what are you distracting yourself from? Why the need to constantly distract yourself? Why the need to always have outside noise, extra stimuli all the time, constantly, as opposed to just sitting with yourself, listening to yourself, being silent? So many people do not know how to be silent. It was only really when I became a counselor, I learned the importance of silence and how necessary it is to process. Like, you don't always have to fill the space with your voice or with noise. There's so much to learn just from sitting in silence. And if we don't get to the point of learning to eliminate these distractions, we're constantly going to be off course. You're wondering why you're not succeeding at what you want to achieve. And it's because there are so many distractions, and some of them are outside of our control and some of them are self-inflicted. A lot of us use distractions as a means of avoidance. The inability to just, whether be in one place, literally like stay home, focus on what you need to do. When it comes to self-reflection or emotionally connecting with yourself, distractions serve as a means of avoidance. We don't realize that we're missing out on so much self-awareness when we constantly avoid the self. When you're always trying to run away from yourself, how do you expect to be your best self? How do you expect to know yourself enough to know what you need to do, what you need to focus on, where you're trying to go, if you're always running away from yourself? I was watching a video earlier today, and it was like a energy activation video. I know there's literally everything online now, but in the video, the woman was talking about alignment, and it's a word that we use so often, and it made me think about how distractions take you out of alignment. And even when we say alignment, I never think about it as if it means being in a straight line, but that's literally what it means. And when you're trying to get somewhere and you allow distractions to take your attention, you're no longer traveling in a straight line. You're no longer getting from A to B in the most efficient way. It's going to end up taking more time. It's going to end up taking away your energy. It's constantly taking you off your path. When you're thinking about what is it I'm trying to do and something comes up as a form of a distraction, is it in alignment? Is this the direction that I'm trying to go in? I'm doing my schoolwork and now someone's called me. Is that in alignment with completing my schoolwork, or is that a distraction? Is that going to take me off my path? And you have to be really careful with the circle that you have. The people that you have around you also need to be in alignment with where you're trying to go and who you're trying to be. You have some people who will waste your time, not even intentionally, but for the simple reason of, I'll give you an example. Like for me, I'm normally the listener in my relationships. I have a good amount of talkers in my life. And if I'm not careful, I will spend a lot of time listening to a bunch of stuff that I really don't care about, just because I have a lot of talkers in my life. And this is why it's so important to set boundaries in order to avoid certain distractions, in order to stay in alignment, to get to where you're trying to go, to get the things you're trying to have, to achieve the things you want to achieve in your life. In my last video, I was talking about how I don't really have a burning desire for things. And that's a lot of the times that's the reason why we don't get the things we want, because we never really wanted them. We're never really willing to go outside of our comfort zone and really push to get something. But having clear goals and being aware of what your priorities are going to help you to stay on track and to avoid certain distractions. When you start to see it as, is this thing taking me where I want to go or is it not? You then start to have a better understanding of how necessary it is to really plan out, this is what I'm doing from this time to this time. This time I'm recording, this time I'm working, this time I'm working out. And this time is for that and that only. And that's a level of discipline that will take you somewhere in life that not having that will not be able to do. That was a very clumsy sentence, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's coming up to the end of the year. We're going to be going into 2025 in the next couple of months. The normal thing to do is to set goals, set New Year's resolutions and all these things. I feel like sometimes a distraction is having too many things you're trying to do. Instead of serving as a means of achieving multiple things, it actually just becomes a distraction. And so thinking about going into the new year, how can you streamline your goals and the things that you want to do? And I think it's so much more beneficial to maybe focus on one or two things until you've achieved them than to set like 10 goals for the year. And this goes down to multitasking as well. So many times we're trying to do a million different things and we don't end up doing any of them really well. You might do a half decent job on all of them, or you might fail at some and do others. But sometimes there's a time to just focus on one thing at a time until you've achieved it. I don't think I can talk about distractions without talking about social media, because I feel like that's probably one of the biggest distractions that we have available to us right now. And I don't know if anyone's watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix. I'd definitely advise you to watch it if you haven't. One thing that they said in the video was that when you don't pay for a product, you are the product. With social media, advertisers pay for your attention. You don't pay for the platform because advertisers are already paying for it just to get your attention, just to keep you on the app that little bit longer, just to advertise whatever it is they want to advertise to you, so that they can sell you whatever it is they want to sell you, so that they can make money. So there's a guy on the documentary, and his name is Jaron Lanier, and he basically wrote a book called 10 Reasons to Delete Your Social Media Right Now. And he talks about how it's not even just that you are the product when it comes to social media, it's that it's also how they can begin to ever so slightly change your behavior and your perceptions in order for you to be the product. So in order for them to be able to control the things you do, to be able to predict where you're going to go, just by them knowing videos do you like to watch, how long do you watch these videos for, they are literally tracking everything. Who do you speak to? They see when you're looking at your ex. They see which accounts you're spying at what time you're watching certain things. Even though we like to think of social media as a tool, we really need to remember that it also has its own agenda. One thing that someone in the video was talking about was that a tool is waiting to be used. It's waiting patiently for you to be ready to use it. And when you decide to use it, it's available. But social media has its own agenda. It does things to manipulate your behavior based on your own psychology. Everything on there is by design. The notifications that you get are by design. The noise that you hear on your phone, it's all by design. It's all giving you that dopamine hit to keep you on the app, to further distract you, to further get your attention for whatever it is that their agenda is. If you are not aware of what's happening, you're going to be distracted and you're just going to be a lab rat. We're already lab rats, but if you can eliminate as many of those distractions as you can and focus on what it is you're trying to achieve, focus on who it is you need to be for yourself, whatever that means to you, without being able to do that, you may as well prepare for failure. As harsh as that may sound, if you're not able to focus, be disciplined, give that time and energy to yourself instead of into all of these useless things, because you can scroll on social media for hours on end. And sometimes you think you're learning stuff, but the truth is how much of that is actually in alignment with what you even need to know. So much of it is just useless information that we don't even retain enough to be able to use in our everyday lives. And if we're gaining more and more information, but not putting it into practice, then what good is it? What good is it to watch 1,000 videos, whether it be on psychology, whether it be on music, or whatever it is you're interested in, if you then don't do anything with it? If you're still no closer to achieving what you want to achieve in life and being who you want to be, being who you came here to be. That's the end of the video.